Hello, French students. Today we are going to review French relative pronouns by telling you a story, and I will give you some tips that will help you. As a reminder, a pronoun is a word used to replace a noun to avoid repetition.
Okay, so picture this. You're at a French flea market. You see this amazing antique lamp, and you want to describe it. But how? French relative pronouns can feel like a total maze, right?
Exactly. Let me tell you a little story about another lamp, since I love lamps. Voici l'histoire d'une vieille lampe qui est sur mon bureau. How would you translate it in everyday English? Here is the story of an old lamp that is on my desk. C'est une lampe que j'ai trouvée au grenier. It is a lamp that I found in the attic. Third sentence. L'abat-jour dont la couleur est fanée est en soie. One of the translations of dont is whose in English. But dont is also used in other ways. We will see them later. Here's the translation. The lamp shade whose color is faded is made of silk. Fourth sentence. C'est l'objet auquel je tiens le plus. In natural style, in English, you will say, it is the object that I'm attached to. But in formal style, you will say, it is the object to which I am attached. So I often tell my students that French is a kind of formal language compared to English. So if you want to understand these relative pronouns preceded by prepositions such as auquel, sur laquelle, you have to think formal. Last sentence. Je l'ai posé sur la table sur laquelle je travaille tous les jours. In natural style, you would say, I put it on the table where I work. In formal style, I put it on the table on which I work. English speakers even tend to remove their relative pronouns, but not French speakers. For example, in casual way, sometimes you will say, it's the object I'm attached to, or I put it on the table I work at, without putting the relative pronouns. If you didn't understand so far, don't worry, follow till the end. It's just the beginning.
By the end of this, you're going to be navigating them like a total pro. Let's get into it. In English, this is a cakewalk. We just use that or which, and bam, we're done. It's super simple, just connecting two ideas. But in French, well, this is where the real fun starts. And this is the classic question that trips up so many people. Is it la lampe que j'ai achetée or la lampe que j'ai achetée? Get this one little word wrong and the whole sentence just kind of falls apart. But don't you worry, we are going to make this crystal clear. All right, let's start with the big two. Seriously, if you can nail the difference between
Qui and que.
you've pretty much won about 80% of the battle. This is the bedrock for everything else. So here's the absolute key difference.
Qui.
Is the subject. It's the one doing the action, and it's almost always followed by a verb.
For example, c'est la lampe qui est sur mon bureau. It is the lamp that is on my desk. Or, it's the lamp on my desk.
Think of it as the one throwing the ball.
Now, que.
On the other hand, is the object. It's the one receiving the action. It's the one the ball is thrown to. It's followed by a new subject, like j'ai, tu, or maybe a name.
For example, c'est la lampe que j'ai trouvée au grenier. You can replace J apostrophe by my name. C'est la lampe que Emanuela a trouvée au grenier.
Here's your first super simple trick. I call it the verb test. Just look at the word that comes right after the blank. Is it a verb? Like in la personne qui parle. Parle is a verb, so you need qui. It's pretty much that simple.
The person that is speaking or the person who is speaking. That or who is followed with a verb, so we use qui in French.
And for QUE, we've got the pronoun test. If the word after the blank is a subject like je, tu, il, or a noun, you're going to need QUE. Take le livre que j'ai lu. The book isn't doing the reading, right? I am. The book is just receiving the action.
The book that I read, that is followed with a pronoun. So we put que. Le livre que j'ai lu.
Make sense? Oh, and just a quick little heads up that'll make you sound way more natural.
Que.
It's going to drop its E right before a vowel sound, like in la table qu'il a acheté. But QI, qui is tough. It never, ever changes. All right, now that you've got the essentials down, let's add a couple more really powerful tools to your collection. Ou and don't. So ou is wonderfully simple. It means where when you're talking about a place, like la ville où ils habitent, the city where they live. And it means when if you're talking about a moment in time, like le jour où il est arrivé, the day when he arrived.
So, both the place where and the moment or the time when are translated into où in French and not quand for the time. Speaking about my lamp, I can say c'est le grenier où je l'ai trouvé. It's the attic where I found it. Le jour où je l'ai acheté. The day when I found it.
So easy. Now, don't. This one can seem a little intimidating at first, but I want you to just think of it as a magnet. It's got this special power, this magnetic force, that attracts certain kinds of verbs.
And what does it pull in? Don't is your go-to whenever the original verb or phrase uses the little preposition de. Think of something like avoir besoin de, to need something. So you'd say, les documents dont j'ai besoin. The de gets kind of sucked right into that don't magnet.
These are French common phrasal verbs that trigger dont. Parler de, avoir besoin de, avoir peur de, se souvenir de, être fier de. For example, think formal style. The documents that I need. The documents I need. Les documents dont j'ai besoin. So when you put dont, you remove the preposition de.
Okay, you are doing great. Now we're moving into the pro-level stuff. These are the tools you'll use for more complex sentences, the ones that deal with prepositions and even abstract ideas. So say hello to the lequel family. You use these guys after prepositions like sur, on, avec, with, or pour, for. The only trick here is that they have to agree in gender and number with the noun you're talking about, just like you'd expect. Now check this out. It gets even more interesting when lequel meets the preposition a. You know how a plus le smushes together to become o? Well, it's the exact same logic here. A plus lequel contracts to become auquel. You will see this construction all over the place.
We said that the relative pronoun dont trigger French phrasal verbs followed with de. But we use lequel, laquelle, lesquels, auquel, and so on when you encounter a preposition other than de. And you have to place those prepositions before the relative pronouns. For example, here we have c'est la table sur laquelle je travaille. It's the table on which I work. It's the table I work on. Always think formal. Let's translate. It's the object I care about most. If we want to match the French structure exactly, we would say it is the object to which I am attached. So, in French, c'est l'objet auquel je tiens le plus. The phrasal verb is tenir à. We have other very common phrasal verbs such as penser à, s'intéresser à, réfléchir à, and so on. Those verbs are used with the translation of the relative pronoun that. For masculine nouns, we use auquel, a contraction of à lequel. Féminine, à laquelle. Plural, auquel, a contraction of à lesquels.
So what happens when you're not talking about a specific thing, but, a general idea, a concept? When there's no single noun to point back to, you call in the CE squad. Now, all of these basically translate to what in English? But here's the really cool part. They follow the exact same rules we've already learned. Ce qui is the subject, so it comes before a verb. Ce que is the object, so it comes before a new subject. Ce dont works with those de verbs, and ce à quoi works with a verbs. See? It all connects.
So, from the beginning, we said that the translation of the relative pronouns qui and que is that. Now, the translation of ce qui and ce que is what? For example, what I like. It's the story of this lamp. I will translate it into ce que because I have a pronoun after or a noun. Ce que j'aime, c'est l'histoire de cette lampe. With a noun, it would be ce que Emanuela aime, c'est l'histoire de cette lampe. Here are some very common expressions in French that we translate using the pronoun what in English. Just a little reminder, we are talking about the pronoun what, not the question word. For example, what I like is traveling by train. Ce qui me plaît, c'est de voyager. So I use here ce qui because I don't have a subject pronoun, je, but I have me. An object pronoun followed by a verb. Be careful with this structure because we have an inverted structure compared to English. It's similar to cela me plaît. It pleases me. Second sentence. What I hate is rain in the summer. The phrasal verb in French is used with the preposition de. Avoir horreur de. So I use don't to translate what. Ce dont j'ai horreur, c'est la pluie en été. Third sentence. What I mean is that we have to leave now. I have a subject pronoun following what, so I use ce que. Ce que je veux dire, c'est que nous devons partir maintenant. Last sentence. What I'm thinking about is my next trip to Paris. So, the phrasal verb in French is penser à, to think about. So, I use ce à quoi. Ce à quoi je pense, c'est mon prochain voyage à Paris.
All right, remember our flea market lamp? Let's circle all the way back to that story and see how all these tools we've learned actually work together in the wild. This is where it's all going to click. Okay, here we go. First part of the story. We're describing the lamp. La lampe qui est sur mon bureau. So why did we choose qui here? Exactly, because the very next word is, the verb to be. The lamp is the subject. It's the thing doing the action of being on the desk. So our verb test passes with flying colors. Now, our story continues. It's a lamp. It's a lamp that I found. C'est une lampe que j'ai trouvée. Let's break this one down.
Well, what's the word right after our pronoun? It's je, which is just je, meaning I. That's a new subject. I am the one doing the finding. The the lamp is the object being found. The pronoun test, it works perfectly.
And finally, let's look at the lampshade. L'abat-jour, dont la couleur est fanée. Now, in English, we'd say who's here, but the French logic is a little different, and it's actually pretty cool. And this is a brilliant example of that magnet concept. The original idea is the color of the lampshade, la couleur de l'abat-jour. That little de gets pulled in and replaced by our danse magnet. It's such a neat way to show possession or an attribute. So there you go. You've seen the rules, you've learned the little tests, and you've seen them in a real-world example. You officially have a complete toolkit for French relative pronouns. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it? Think of an object that means something to you, and just try to describe it.
If you have a B1 level, you can start with qui, que, and dont. À vous de jouer. Prenez un objet chez vous, décrivez-le avec qui, que, et ajoutez un détail avec dont. Abonnez-vous pour la prochaine leçon. À bientôt. Subscribe for the next lesson. See you soon.